WordPress and Webflow are both amazing platforms for building websites. But how do you decide which one do you want to build in your next project? So I'm going to highlight some key considerations that'll help you decide on either platform. So let's start with WordPress. WordPress is the #1 content management system on the internet, as far as it has the most use across the internet. I believe something like over 40% of websites are powered with WordPress. And WordPress has been around for over 10 years. I think around since 2004, if I'm not mistaken. So WordPress has by far the largest community amongst any website builder, and definitely over Webflow. It has the largest marketplace of plugins. So pretty much whatever type of site you want to build, not only a basic, business marketing website or a blog, but you can also build a membership website, an e-commerce website, and any other type of website. Really, two-sided marketplaces. You can build an e-learning platform with WordPress. WordPress just has a ton of plugins. So whatever project you're trying to build, if it's feature rich and you don't want to reinvent the wheel and develop something from scratch, you can just go ahead and find a plugin for it. And WordPress, more than likely, there's one that already exists. So it saves a lot of time when it comes to development. WordPress also has one of the largest communities on the internet. So if you run into any problems or issues, you can find some forum on the internet to reach out to and have someone help you. If you're if you're already hosting your site live, typically a lot of hosting companies have a support line, and they have WordPress experts that works for their company. So you don't have to worry about, ever being alone, just in case you run across a problem with WordPress. Now, some of the cons of WordPress is because they have so many plugins available, and open source plugins at that, you really don't know which plugin may be safe or not, may pose a security threat, or which one is not as performant and may slow down your website. So that's one of the cons of having, more of an open platform such as WordPress. So you have to weigh that option. I recommend sticking to downloading, popular plugins, or plugins with a ton of reviews, a ton of users, or plugins that you can download directly from the WordPress marketplace itself. So you don't end up installing any malware on your website. Also, with that, WordPress is an open source platform, which is great. And almost any website host that's on the internet has a managed WordPress hosting plan that you can sign up for, and it comes pre-installed. However, there is some maintenance and some configuration you normally have to do once you install WordPress setup that you don't have to worry about with Webflow. So that's pretty much WordPress. If you have a feature-rich website, well, you're going to need a ton of different features. More than likely, WordPress. There's a plugin out there that you can install, and it's pre-built for you, so it'll save you a ton of time. And WordPress, you can find a lot of low-cost WordPress plans on the internet, and almost any third-party platform, whether it's some marketing tool like HubSpot or Buffer, some social media marketing tools, sales tools, payment processors. There's typically some of the big names out there like Stripe and other tools you can find. There's typically a WordPress built-in WordPress plugin for them that they've built natively themselves. So if you're doing anything with SEO, e-commerce, you'll be fine. But so let's talk about Webflow. So Webflow, now I've used this recently. Webflow has one of the most beautiful interfaces I've seen as far as website builders go. I mean, it's amazing. Now, I'm a developer, so picking up the tool, you pick it up really fast when you want to make new websites from scratch as well. If you want to build a new thing from scratch, you pick it up the platform really easily in comparison to WordPress. WordPress, I wouldn't say difficult, but more of a hassle if you're trying to build a fresh website from a blank canvas. I think Webflow takes the cake on that when it comes to designing and set up a website. Now, Webflow, one of the other advantages that Webflow has is the site is hosted on their platform, so you don't have to worry about, solving a bunch of security problems, doing some type of site maintenance, or doing some type of, pre-launch configurations that you need to do on the administrative side, because it's self-hosted using Webflow's platform. So that that part is normally frustrating enough for long-term WordPress users, and why some of them are migrating over to Webflow for a lot simpler sites. Another thing is Webflow is very friendly, has some native built-in features that are friendly to freelancers. So such as it has a built-in client billing feature where under your account, you can build a site for a client and just send them an invoice through the Webflow platform, and you just build them to pay, for their hosted site as you continue to develop it. And also with that is Webflow has a built-in site transfer feature. So it's very easy to transfer the site and all of its data to your client once you're finished development. With literally just a click of a button, all you have to do is enter the client's email and transfer the site over to them, which I've done for a client in the past, and it was seamless. It was so easy to do. I thought that was pretty amazing. And Webflow really think about, I guess, freelancers in mind. But with that being said, Webflow, when I've used it, it really was a mind-blowing experience. The visual editor, like I said, is second to none. Is probably the best on the market that I've seen. Highly customizable. You can build a lot of things. But there are some cons to Webflow. There are some cons to Webflow. I found Webflow, even though the interface is great, like I said, I'm a developer myself. I think to build a website, if you're building something from scratch, from the ground up, the interface, it uses a lot of some of the features and the tools and the little settings that you configure your website with. It makes a lot of reference to some coding terminology that I would think you would need some type of technical skill to be able to grasp the platform. So if you're either a UI UX designer on your own and you worked on a team with developers, and you collaborated with developers on projects, or you're a developer yourself, then you may find Webflow pretty easily to grab a hold on. But if you're non-technical, don't have any technical skills at all, you never worked on a product team at any company, or never built a website from the ground up, then I think Webflow might be a little bit challenging, just in my opinion. Though you can try it yourself. It has a free account, a free plan you can sign up for. But that's it. I think technical difficulty as far as building a site from scratch is more challenging. But maintaining the site, if the site is already built for you, someone else built you a site and handed it over to you, transfers to you, then I think it's easy to manage. But building something from scratch, I think is a lot more tough than WordPress. One of the other cons is Webflow. It's been around for a minute, at least 5 years, but being that it's relatively new in comparison to WordPress, it's not as large of a community, doesn't have that many plugins, doesn't have a large array of plugins. So if you have a feature-rich site in mind, you you may not find a plugin that you can use, so you would have to build that into your site from scratch, from the ground up. Or you may not be able to have that feature at all. For instance, if you're using some type of third-party platform, software as a service, some third-party system, and you want to, say, integrate it, find an integration or plugin. Being that Webflow is somewhat new, I found for at least a client project that didn't have any Webflow integrations for that service, so I couldn't use it, or it was very difficult trying to force it into the website. But also, with that being said, some things Webflow didn't have in plugins wise, so I would have to build that from scratch, which is a time sink, which is a problem. I guess as a developer, in my instance. So, and that's really that's really the only main problem with Webflow. It's not as customizable as WordPress is. So if you're trying to build, some type of complex site, then I would think Webflow would be the best option for you. So with that being said, so here's my recommendation. Like I said, depending on which platform you want to use on your next project, it depends. So here's my recommendation and determining factor on which platform I want to use. So if I have like I said, a feature-rich site, I want all the bells and whistles. As a developer, maybe I wanted to develop my own plugins, my own integrations into the platform. Or if I'm not a developer, maybe I want to hire someone, and I just know from a business perspective, I need some custom features developed for my site that I can't find anywhere, or that I just want to own myself. I will go with WordPress for a more complex setting. And even for blogs, if you're running a blog as a business, a serious blogger, WordPress really was designed for bloggers and has a ton of features if you want to make a really advanced blog as well. However, if you're building just a basic marketing site, say for a business, it doesn't have a ton of features involved in it, then I think that's where Webflow really shines. Webflow does have an e-commerce platform features built in. It does have a blogging feature built in. But I would say that's more for more simple use cases, for simple e-commerce and for simple blogging. So, but if I was to build, a marketing website for a client, which I have done before, Webflow was a great option because they just needed a simple blog, but mainly they needed their non-technical team to be able to make changes and updates, and they did not have an on-site webmaster, so they didn't want anyone to maintain the site as far as be responsible for security fixes or site crashes and things of that nature. Webflow was a better option because Webflow is has their own hosting plan, and they have their own team of developers doing maintenance 24/7, or at least every day, since they host the platform themselves. So Webflow was great for that use case. It wasn't a feature-rich site. So that's really the determining factor. For more complex site, for more customization, for more feature-rich on your website, go with WordPress. If you want a more basic blog or e-commerce site, or just business marketing site you want set up, go with Webflow. And that's all. That's all the insight I have. I also have another blog post on, if you want to go deeper into this topic, on how to choose other content management systems or website builders. You can check out my blog post, how to choose a content management system, on technicallyautonomous.com, where I go more. I consider other platforms as well, such as Shopify, headless CMSs, Magento, BigCommerce, and and other platforms, Wix, Weebly, and more. So nonetheless, I hope that was helpful to you guys. If you have any comments or any questions for me, leave the comments in below, and I'll try to reply to all of them as I can. So remember, like and subscribe, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for the next one. See ya.